Welcome to It's On Halifax with your hosts, Mark Adam and Pat King. It's On Halifax is brought to you by A2 Canada and Oasis on Spring Garden Road.
Welcome to another episode of It's On Halifax. We have some guests with us today, but first off, I'm your host, Mark Adam, co-host.
Pat King.
And our guests here are from the NWA, which is the National Wrestling Alliance, Atlantic Canada. And we have
JB Havoc.
And Jackson Fury.
Right on. Real names Matt and Jim.
Yes, sir.
They are real people. Wrestlers are not, they're not like that all the time. Some of them are, but those guys are kind of dicks.
Living the gimmick, right?
Yeah, don't live your gimmick. Nobody likes that. But
don't be a honky tonk man.
That's right.
Don't be a honky tonk man. Yeah, I met Eugene. You know his real name?
Nick Densmore.
Nick Densmore. Out of character, fantastic guy. In character, also kind of awesome to watch, but I don't think he could pull that off all the time. People would be offended.
That's fair. So I do have a couple questions. I know it's not like my thing. I'm not a huge wrestling fan anymore because MMA is sort of taking a lot of attention.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But I used to be like SummerSlam and Bash at the Beach and Vader and those guys.
Right.
Like that was when I was watching wrestling. How long have you guys been into wrestling?
Myself, I've been into wrestling, since I was about the Attitude Era. When WCW was really hot. That's when I started watching, and then, I never planned on wanting to be a wrestler. It was always kind of in the back of my mind, if I could do it. So, just opportunities presented themselves that gave me the chance to try it. So I figured, I would and make the best of it, right?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit in the opposite spectrum. I was introduced to wrestling very early. WrestleMania 3 was the first real thing that I'd seen, and then I saw some backdated stuff beyond that. And I got about 30 years in as a fan alone, so
well, there you go.
It was quite a slow progression to actually get in a ring, but now that I am, it's pretty awesome to be able to follow a dream if you want to be that cheesy cliche. Fed a level of cheese, but
wait, we're all about cliche here.
Excellent. Cliche is good. Yeah, fantastic.
So were you those guys, doing what they told you not to do at home, like backyard?
Oh yeah,
stuff,
absolutely.
off?
I can honestly say, based on the date and being a full-on mark as well, and knowing what's going on in Japan all the way through, I hit the world's very first tornado DDT off my mother's washing machine. Yeah, kids, I don't recommend you try to do it unless you. Oh, actually, you know what? Go for it. It's awesome.
Well, yeah. I mean, you turned out okay.
Yeah. The jury's still out on that one, boys.
Yeah.
We're not
the
quite
man
sure.
that's telling the kids to do the tornado DDT off the washer turned out great.
Yeah. Anyway, so you've been actually wrestling in a ring for how long?
Myself, about 8-9 years.
That's quite a while.
Yeah, Jim's just in he's in his first year with it.
Well, about starting my second year now. Yeah. I'm goose at green right now. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's
That's cool.
catching on really, really, really quickly. So
there's a few wrestling promotions in Nova Scotia that I've seen. There's,
absolutely.
Not ECW.
UCW.
Yeah. There's the guys that wrestle out in Economy most of the time. Is that them?
No. UCW is Halifax based, and that's actually who we're making our first appearance with on March 1st.
Yeah. Okay, right on.
UCW is an affiliate of the NWA now. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we'll be co-producing some stuff.
Yeah.
What about mainstream wrestling?
That's out of Truro. Sorry, mainstream. That's.
I don't know.
There's They used to wrestle all the time at Dave Doolittle's over in Dartmouth.
I'm not sure exactly. I know mainstream around here, years ago was big, and then, they did some things, and now you just don't hear much with them. But that seems to be the way it is with the wrestling. And when we had the opportunity to do a partnership with UCW Ultimate Championship Wrestling. It was a good fit because they run consistent shows. They bring up stars, whereas it seems like a lot of other promotions kind of hit a bit of a fan base to make a bit of money, and then it's like they lose it and then they're gone, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to do anything in Halifax anyway, because as far as population goes, we're limited.
Oh, definitely.
Right? We're definitely limited by our population. So you can only gain so much of a following, and if you don't do it right and you don't stay on top of it constantly, it's so easy to just lose everything you've built.
Yeah, and you talk about UCW, they get a lot of big names into, so
Most definitely. And
keeps it fresh, keeps it interesting for fans of the bigger wrestling promotions, I would imagine.
Right, and and they got great local talent like Wild Man Gary Williams and Sexton Phoenix and JP
awesome.
Sims, and there's a lot of other guys, but yeah, they have a great roster pool, and that's what we're hoping to do with NWA Atlantic, is just to have two really good promotions that work in conjunction with each other. And if promotions in PEI or New Brunswick or Newfoundland want to come aboard, I mean, we hope to have our champions out working as much as possible, not only just on NWA shows but also on other shows as well, right?
Yeah. So is the idea in the wrestling community to band together as much as possible, or is there a lot of because I feel like there's a lot of things like music-wise, there's people that I hate those guys, I'm not dealing with those guys, but I mean, wrestling is such a smaller pool,
Right.
You get that in any industry for the most part, whether it's hot dogs on the corner or pro wrestling. You get your people that have their arms open to change and additions, as long as people are very respectful and not stepping on toes of what they're already doing. So you reach out to those folks. But at the same time, on the flip side of the coin, there's always the folks that see a piece of their pie disappearing. So at that point, you're going to get your mixed reviews.
Yeah, but so it isn't a wide open we should all band together because we're already a small.
If you follow wrestling in Canada and you go look what they're doing out west, they've merged a bunch of promotions out there under one banner, right? They're pulling in big, huge name talent. They got the creme de la creme wrestlers going in and out of there. And that's something that hopefully we can try to do here in Atlantic Canada, right? Because we're so off the grid, you know what I mean? It's hard to get big names in here if you don't want to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars, and that's just on flights.
Yeah,
right?
just on trans alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, where are you from originally?
British Columbia.
Okay.
And I'm an Army brat, but I guess I'd call Nova Scotia home. I spent the most time here.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Does that play a factor to people? I'm from here, I want to make something big here? Is that, clearly you're not from this side of the country, but, I mean, how long have you been here in Halifax?
15 years.
See, that's long enough to consider Halifax a home.
Yeah,
of sorts.
and then I consider it a home and stuff, and I just what me and Jim and everybody else that's come together, that's helped on this, whether it be just anybody, even if it's just somebody plugging us. We just want to make it big here, and just want all the promotions to know that we want to do business and try to build it up.
Is it weird to fans and stuff if they meet you at a bar and you're not, JD Havoc and Jackson Fury and?
It's a funny question because I run a local business, and as rare as you would expect somebody as green as I am to get these experiences, I was in the washroom of all things washing my hands, and I looked either side of me. There were two kids that must have seen one of our shows or me at a show, and they were just standing, almost salivating, looking up in the mirror at me, and which was the first experience that's happened. So, and out of the bathroom with cell phone pictures with their mother and autographs, that was the first time that it really happened. So you kind of, I don't know, for the kids you just jump into character, but I'm a white meat baby face anyway, so all I have to do is shake hands and smile, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where a heel, if he jumps into character, then you're gonna have some really upset little kids in the bathroom.
Kids, get away from me, you brat!
I play a heel and stuff, and big thing that I find is if you go to shows and if you go to wrestling shows, I mean, as a heel you're supposed to try to get as much heat as you possibly can, right? Some people don't know necessarily that it's just a show. So the things that you say at a show, if you're sitting there calling a guy a fat slob or a toothless redneck, I mean, it's part of the show. When you're out after the show, it doesn't mean nothing, right? But there's been times where you go out or whatever, and some schmo recognizes you from a show you did 6 months ago and wants to try to pick it, or people, I get this all the time, how do I know you, right? And I'm I don't know, and then people click in, and then all of a sudden it's people want to try to see how tough the wrestlers are. So years of doing it, I just try to stay off the grid as much as I can. I don't go do too much anymore, I just sit at home and
Yeah, I suppose the last thing you need is some guy trying to start a fight with you in the parking lot of a Kmart because you called him a retard at a show one time or something,
Well, it's just it's annoying, and I'm not a big like a person on like being bugged and stuff. Like I don't like being bugged, so I don't like try to go anywhere like Walmart's or Canadian Tires unless like it's really urgent, right?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Like I don't have a sense of that. Like I have. There's people that recognize me because of my music, very rarely, but it happens, and it's usually like, they don't know who you are because when you're being a musician, you're not being a person, right? It's not a character.
Right.
I do some acting, and people are like, "Hey, I saw you in that show," but they know in their brain that you were playing a character.
Right.
People don't have that association necessarily with wrestlers for some weird reason, even though it's kind of a form of theater
Right.
in and of itself.
And there's a good reason for that. I mean, if you're yourself as an actor, whether it be on theater or on television or what have you, even commercials, people are going to see you playing different roles.
Yeah.
So they're going to be able to create that, that suspense of disbelief isn't going to be there with someone like yourself because you're constantly in the public eye doing something different.
Yeah.
Where on the pro wrestling side, you're constantly trying to get your gimmick over. So you're doing the same thing over and over and
beating it into
over.
people's brains.
So
Right.
anytime people associate your face with anything, it's either being a complete asshole in public or, or on the show that they've seen, or being, the guy that goes out and high-fives the kids and smiles and kissing fat girls and all of that good stuff, So,
Hey, yeah. Fat girls need loving too.
Oh yeah.
well, it's like a moped, but no, I'm not even going there. I'm not even going there. No.
It's okay.
No,
It's
I censored myself.
It's on iTunes as explicit. It's all good. You can say
Fair.
what
Well,
you
I
want.
have children. They'll never appreciate that. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
fair
that's-
enough. Fair enough.
Keep away from that.
I wouldn't let your kids listen to our podcast, but that's just.
Not after that comment. Oh.
Honestly,
That's just one man's opinion, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're just that's barely the tip of the iceberg in terms of what's been said in the past.
Yeah, it's usually you being the most inappropriate.
Yeah,
but,
generally.
We
actually, I can see that. You have a wild look in your eye.
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of like guests be inappropriate because they don't really know. Like podcast, this isn't radio.
No.
This isn't radio. This is podcasting, and because it's podcasting, we can say whatever the fuck we want. Like we can,
Yeah.
you can drop the F-bomb whenever you feel like it. You can,
Yeah, you could just, and that's the reason why I like the podcast is just because, you could just sit there and you could just shoot the shit and don't have to worry about what you say or what the repercussions are. Whereas, like, if you go on radio, if you're in front of a camera, you really got to watch your P's and Q's, right? So,
yeah.
Unless you're
and
Howard Stern, then you just don't give a fuck.
Yeah. No, that's what I love about this format is like you can, if you have a bad joke, we want to hear it because they want to hear it.
We've kind of reined it in. We still have a little bit of structure. We keep it to an hour, but when we first started, things got a little rough. Like to this day, my favorite episode was with Rob Gillen from Armada Drive, and the three of us just sat here. It was over 2 hours long, and we drank it 2-4.
Oh wow!
Three of us, and the things
just
that were
got
said were just.
shittered.
We were like, we can't do that again. That wasn't okay.
Yeah, we crossed some lines. We learned definitely what not to do at that moment in time. So it's all
These things
good.
happen.
Yeah. Have you guys ever had a show like that just it went too far, or it just like zapped you? Like,
I years ago I was wrestling on a local show around here, and I won't mention like the promotion or the promoter because that's not the point.
that's okay. Yeah.
Plus, he still owes me money. There was this handicapped gentleman that was in a wheelchair, and he was a fan, and he used to come to the shows, and he kept always used to bug the promoter about you should let one of the guys like come out and do their entrance and dump me out of the wheelchair, right? And I was walking by when they were having this conversation. Well, I'll do it, right? Because if he's great with it, then like why not?
No,
I'm a bad guy. That's
You're
gonna
the
get
bad
me-
guy.
right.
That adds so much badassedness.
Right,
to
that's
your character.
that's gonna get me heat, and we were doing like a 4 or 5 day little tours. So we showed up there in like one of those big like huge passenger vans, and so we set it all up. I come out and he was gonna mouth me off or grab me or do something, and I was just gonna grab him by his chair or by the wheel
Flip
and just
him.
slip up, and he actually would launch himself, right? So I wasn't even like throwing him. So come out, do it, and next thing you know, the crowd just went ballistic.
Oh wow.
Like the match didn't happen, right? Because like the crowd
So you nearly started a riot.
pretty much there was only about like 140 people there, but I mean 140 people mad. Like I mean it was like everybody thought it was offensive, right? And I remember the promoter like being in the back, getting my gear off, and he's like, you have to go this side, or so they had to actually put me in this van.
We can't do that again.
I had to lie down with a blanket over me, right? So they could actually get me past the doors where everybody was coming out. So yeah,
Wow.
Cheap heat. Cheap heat.
No, but seriously, that's bad.
The best
Especially
kind, though.
if he approaches you, that's awesome. Because
Right.
then you're like, fuck yeah, I'm going to dump a handicap. Who cares?
Well, why not? Like, if he's into it, right? You know, I mean, and like everybody knows it's a show, right? I mean,
Well, a lot of
everybody
right.
almost knows it's a show.
No, and you know, and I made, you know, like his, you know, like year, right? Like, you know. Just,
well, yeah, I imagine there are a lot of fans that
Right.
would give a lot to be part of the show.
Right.
Or any aspect of it.
Yeah, I want him to come
Yeah,
into
yeah.
the crowd and choke me out, man. No, I don't think you do, but we'll do it.
You know, but I mean, if it's a cool spot, you know, and you're going to generate heat, and you know, and that was years ago when I necessarily wasn't like really smart at working. Like now, I can get heat just by my mannerisms or how I do a move.
Yes,
or,
you can,
or what I
actually.
say.
Yeah.
Back then, I was looking for like cheap heat, so I'd go out there and I'd try to swear I'd do like the extreme stuff to try to get like doing that, right? So,
Yeah.
But now, if somebody came up, I wouldn't, right? I wouldn't do that. So.
No, yeah. Lesson learned, as you could say.
Yeah,
Definitely.
learning your limits.
That's fantastic. that makes me laugh a lot, actually. This week, I was going to do Why Is That a Thing after the second half, but we have a segment, it's called Why Is That a Thing? We find something on the internet or anywhere that is kind of like, what the fuck was somebody thinking making this? Like,
Right.
Usually it's a product of some kind.
Okay.
But this time, what we're doing is, our Why Is That a Thing is Olympic wrestling.
Olympic wrestling.
They're taking wrestling out of the Olympics.
That's a sore spot with me. That's a real sore
well,
spot.
I would think so.
Yeah.
And like, how do you take the actual oldest form of the sport that the Olympics is built around, and then based on the fact that the Olympic Games is now so commercialized based on viewership and what have you, that you're going to take one of the most intricate cornerstones of the whole idealistic. I'm going to use somewhere cliches and big words that just describe that I'm really pissed off about the whole notion of it.
That was actually my argument too, because you picture the Olympics and you picture two Greek guys
Well,
wrestling it out.
Yeah,
Straight
wrestling,
up,
running, and throwing things. That's the
Exactly,
Olympics.
yeah.
when I was in high school, I was on the wrestling team and did all that. And biggest thing I thought I didn't realize is how much like amateur wrestling actually contributes into when you're training to become a pro wrestler.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's one of those things where they shouldn't get rid of it because like Jim said, it's one of the oldest sports. But
Well, it's the cornerstone of.
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, how do you do that and then say, oh, by the way, we're going to add curling and golf?
Right.
And
Like, who wants to watch that shit?
What?
Like, seriously.
Yeah, and they say
Table tennis, ping pong?
There's people that want to see golf and
Right.
good on them. But is it really an Olympic sport? Is it really something that people associate with like separate countries being
Athleticism.
better? You know, it's like
No.
great. We're going to send Stephen Ames, and the states will send Tiger Woods, and
Right.
you know.
And I don't know any good curlers because curling sucks. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most countries in the world don't know what curling is.
But like, I totally get why you want to have that at the Olympics. Why you want to have curling, because there are lots of people that do like curling.
Right.
I get that. But to take out what like you said, one of the cornerstones.
Well, it'd be equivalent in like the Winter Olympics to taking out like hockey, right? You know, it's like it's been there for so long, and it's just so much a part of like the Olympics.
Yeah, it's like,
Well,
by the
I
way,
wanna
we're
weigh
not
in
going to
on
do any
this.
skiing events in
Right.
the Winter Olympics.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to just go back
Okay.
right to the bullshit of the whole notion of wrestling coming out, just to get it back on track. Is that the Olympics were formerly initially based on one-on-one competition. So now what they're doing is almost every aspect of the Olympics is some sort of team format. Or if it's not a team format, you're racing, you're working against a clock. So you're competing against a time. So at that point, there's no actual one-on-one aspect of the Olympics anymore. Boxing may still be. They might take boxing out.
They
The
might.
stupid sons of bitches.
Yeah.
And then,
Because boxing's not drawn anymore either.
well, that's it.
Right?
Yeah, but
Oh, yeah,
it's
but
one-on-one
it's not-
But they're
competition.
going to put MMA in.
Well, of course.
They're talking about putting MMA in.
So yeah, now that again, I have more to weigh in on that. When it comes to wrestling, you eat, sleep, shit, walk on water, eat ice cream based on the fact that wrestling is your entire life. That's all you focus on. MMA guys, no offense by any stretch of the imagination, but they're pretty good at a number of different things. So then,
yeah,
at
it's
no
the, sort of
point.
the jack of all trades, master of none sort of deal.
Exactly.
Right.
So, like a very good close personal friend of mine is, again, I'm not going to drop names because he might not appreciate the whole pro wrestling versus amateur wrestling aspect of things. But he's was an alternate in the 1996 Olympic Games for Team Canada, and he's been on the coaching staff of the last Olympic wrestling team that went to London. And that's exactly how he describes it to me, is to be the absolute best at one thing and have that heart and that fire and that desire to do so. And there's not too many athletes out there like wrestlers. You got to be a little sick in the head to be, well, an amateur wrestler, or maybe a little sicker in the head to be a pro wrestler. But yeah, it's just it's complete bullshit. Even the notion of it.
Yeah. And we actually have a girl commenting on our, because as we ask questions.
Hopefully
Emily,
it's not somebody that like one of us is, you know.
No, it's
Sorry.
No, Emily. She posts the questions on Facebook as we go. But somebody's actually commented now. Funny, because that's one of the original Olympic events. That was
Right.
And everybody seems to know that fact. Everyone. And
that's when you hear Summer Olympics. That's gotta be like when you think back, like the originals, like wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling, and I think maybe javelin. You know.
Yeah, like I said, grabbing people and throwing them, or picking up heavy things and throwing them, or running faster than the other guy.
Yeah, and they were all like, Olympic wrestling is one of those things that I wanted to get your opinion on it, because as pro wrestlers, I wasn't sure if there's a lot of pro wrestlers that are like Olympic wrestling, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's guys that made their names on being.
Oh, like look at Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle
yeah.
with his ankle lock.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar. Yeah.
Yeah.
He went to amateur wrestling, to pro wrestling, to obviously MMA.
and then back to pro wrestling.
Well, that's based on a payday. The guy doesn't do much, but
well, he's got diverticulitis. He had surgery. He can't.
Oh, but Brock Lesnar at the end of the day is a freak show.
Yeah.
The fact that he can transition like that. Oh my god.
He broke MMA. It was not fair. It's just, he could just tackle somebody to the ground and literally just lay into him.
Who was that last guy that beat him?
Beat the shit out of him?
and then Lesnar retired. I think he
Cain Velasquez?
No, he hit him with a stomach kick. This guy was a monster.
Yeah, I think it was Cain Velasquez.
Well, Cain Velasquez was his last fight, though.
Yeah, that was his last
Okay,
fight.
then maybe it was the one before that.
Who the hell?
Anyways, the guy was massive, and I mean Brock Lesnar took a direct stomach kick that buckled him, right? I mean, and after going through
all
that
the diverticulitis surgery, and he was out for 14 months.
Right, and then and then a guy that's legs are the size of tree trunks hits you right in the stomach. Yeah, that's gonna buckle you.
Because he was supposed to fight Overeem.
That's who it was, Alistair Overeem.
But they didn't fight because Overeem tested 14 points over.
For testosterone.
No. Brock Lesnar and them fought. That's the guy that kicked Brock Lesnar in the stomach and buckled him. Overstein was supposed to fight the NWA the UFC heavyweight champion, and then he tested positive.
Okay, so that was the fight right after Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I believe you. I just
makes
can't remember.
Because it was the one UFC event I actually watched.
So we got another comment there on Twitter.
Awesome.
I was into wrestling in high school for 3 years based on my admiration for Olympic wrestlers. Cornerstone of the Olympic Games for sure.
Yeah, I haven't run across a single person who agrees with the whole taking out of Olympic wrestling. It just doesn't make sense to anyone I've spoken to.
It's like McDonald's, right? It's like them, turn around saying, okay, well, we're just going to discontinue the Big Mac.
Well, did you see that? Right? Did you see the outrage? There was a Jerry D, fucking, maybe no, it wasn't Jerry D. No, but they went to Burger King and they were like, yeah, no more Whoppers. And people were like, I want to fucking, people lost their fucking minds.
I remember that, yeah.
I want my fucking Whopper.
What do you mean you don't sell Whoppers anymore?
What the fuck? Where am I?
Yeah. The same deal though, same guidelines, right? It's just something that's been there for so long. When you take it away, I mean, obviously people are going to be disgruntled about it, right?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, clearly, the Olympics, Greco-Roman wrestling is the Olympics Whopper.
Oh,
fair enough.
Big Mac
or Big Mac.
KFC's chicken, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Colonel Sanders chicken.
I think it's just it's kind of a move towards. Well, the media, just away from conflict, that one-on-one competition, that violent and whatever, and they're looking to get viewers and appeal to a mass audience.
Stupid.
Yeah.
That really can't be the argument if they're considering putting MMA in.
Yeah.
Well, that can't be your argument.
That's right, and and it's drawn money. Boxing was huge. And they were making. There was boxing making $20 million.
The Don King days, multi-million-dollar deals.
That was what ruined boxing, actually.
Yeah, that's what took it to its
pinnacle. Don King made boxing, or the Don King era, we'll call it.
Right.
Because it wasn't just Don King. He was just the biggest and the best at stealing people's money.
But they just
Don
learned how to sell
King
it.
and JB Havoc, follow me. I want to use you. I want you to make me some of those dollar bills.
Yeah. Do to wrestling what you did to boxing. Wait, no, don't do that because then no one will watch.
As long as I'm on the payroll.
Oh, you'll make a buck. That's for sure.
Yeah,
You'll be
well,
set for life.
Don
I mean-
King Jackson Fury just wants you to cut promos for me because I tend to suck.
Yeah, he is a very charismatic man.
I actually saw a video that was it was you saying how we're coming to Atlantic provinces and I'm gonna blah 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 and I think it was you but you had a hood on.
Yeah.
Was it you?
Yeah,
Come
it was
out and
me.
hit him with a chair.
Yeah, it was.
There's
Out of nowhere?
a metal pan of some sort.
Want to hear a funny story about that whole thing?
I do.
So,
Do I want the story told?
oh yeah,
Okay, carry on.
of course you do, man. So we do this. We're gonna do this video, and we have this concept about like we were just gonna leave it as like a mystery man, and then people would come and find out who it was, right? And anyway, so we shoot the video, and the video airs, and nobody catches on that my Twitter handle's at the end of this video, right? So when you click on it, it's wrestler JB Havoc, blah blah blah. You can see me, right? So of course I'm reading through the comments, and I see people starting to be like, "Well, you guys kind of gave away the ending, right?" So just funny that like we were sitting there thinking that we were gonna do this real good storyline.
We got a
and,
fucking surprise for you.
yeah, and then everybody kind of knew anyway since they watched the
Spoiler
video
alert.
who it was, right? So because they just looked up the other Twitter handle account and figured it out, right? So
Yeah,
And
shit happens.
it was
you guys-
funny. I get a good chuckle out of it. So
Are you guys looking to do like from show to show? I mean, generally there's some semblance of a story arc for a lot, but where you're just doing single shows, you're looking to do smaller, kind of little isolated storylines and just appeal to people based on that one event kind of thing.
And an addendum to that question: do you guys plan on recording and posting these events
Well,
as events?
That's the thing is that it's interesting you put that up because there's, especially around here, there's no. I mean, they have the storylines that you see. Well, you have to go to the show to see it.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, that's what we're trying to utilize is using these media vehicles and make our own videos, shoot our own promos, and throw them out there as much as we can.
yeah, we have a gentleman that's going to be coming on and actually blogging all of our shows. So following all the storylines, like he's going to write like a huge detail for detail, start of the show to the end of the show, and he's going to be putting it on this blog, which when we announce it, it'll just go on our Twitter. So that way, if people that they can't follow the shows that are there, then they can just go on the blog site, check it out, right?
Yeah, he's
keep
like,
up to date.
this guy made fun of this guy's mom.
Right,
so,
right. And
As
then,
opposed
and
to
then-
trying to fill it in at the show
Right.
and then during your
And that was the good thing about partnering up with UCW was the fact that right now we're only running on a bi-monthly basis. So we're keeping the product fresh. We're building it up slowly because we almost want to do like the ECW build up, like get that following before we start, moving outsourcing. People want us to go to the Valley and people want us to go here and there, but I mean we don't want to go there unless it's going to be packed houses.
Well, yeah, and you got then
yeah.
it's all about and it doesn't matter if it's wrestling, if it's music, if it's whatever it is.
Right.
Like you said, hot dogs on the corner. You got to build a brand, or else nobody will care.
Right.
If you
And-
show up in the Valley, oh, wrestling, so that all they'll know is Wrestling Valley. But if they know, fuck, Jackson Fury and JD Havoc are coming.
Right. Then, and that's what you want to do. You try to make certain names marquee draws that people know, right? Another way is, when you have, you go do a show in the Valley when you have 300 people on Facebook saying, come to the Valley or come to Amherst or wherever, right? Then at that point you want to go there and you want to do a show. So, I mean, right now our home base is just like Halifax on a bi-monthly, right? So
And where do you do these events?
we're going to be running some of them out of the Spryfield Lions, or is it the Lions rink?
Yeah.
Spryfield Lions rink. And
With
then,
with appearances being made on the UCW shows.
UCW shows, and we're going to be taking UCW talent and bringing them on NWA shows, as well as outsourcing guys from New Brunswick, Ontario, Quebec. Trying to
That's
keep
cool.
it. We're trying to keep it as local as we can with the talent, like trying to keep everybody in Canada bases.
Well,
Yeah.
it sounds a lot similar to the kind of business model that a lot of bands that we have on the show come into. Just having, you don't want to oversaturate yourself in the market, so you keep the
Right.
shows, bi-monthly or just
Yeah, we want-
monthly at the most. So
Right.
you attract that crowd before
Right.
because you could be doing shows every second week, but that just means people won't be able to make it to as many of them.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, we'd like to start running a show a week in different areas, right? I mean, we can cover the whole Maritimes once we actually have a following in all of the Maritimes. It makes it, demographically possible, right? So it's just one of those things where, everybody, is just going to, try really hard to make it a go. And, everybody that reaches out that helps us out, we much appreciate it. And, just as the fans, just, keep checking out and come check out the product because it's something fresh, right? It's something new, and custom belts and everything like that. So it's definitely going to be something hasn't been around in a long time.
And well, yeah, and I don't want to say if, because you guys seem on a great track. I mean, you definitely know what you're doing. So when you get to be a little bigger, are there any local guys or any not so local guys that you want to work with that are on the top of your list to kind of bring in? And on top of that, who would be your dream guy to make an appearance at a show to get to work with as a wrestler?
Oh, get to work in the ring?
Yeah. You guys have any?
Like a current guy?
Yeah, sure. Anyone still active does the circuit kind of thing.
It's hard because I'm just at the point now where I just want to have a good match with whoever I work, right? But
yeah, that's fair.
If I could pick somebody to work, like Kevin Steen maybe. Yeah. So like ROH world champion, I think me and him would have a good match just based on like
ROH being Ring of Honor.
Yeah, and he's out of Quebec, so you possibly could see Kevin Steen come into NWA Atlantic at some point. But that would be probably the current guy right now that I would be interested in working. I don't know about Jackson over here.
I'll work anybody. I'll bump for anybody.
And when you say, and for people who aren't too up
You
on the
drop
slang,
in the lingo.
yeah, you taking bumping for somebody just means being the underdog, just taking the hits.
It's when you land on your back on the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, just showing them enough respect that anything that they throw at me, I'll make it look like they killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like
Selling it.
what they used to have for jobbers.
Easy. No.
No, but they used to have because back in the day, wrestling was like, it's Hulk Hogan versus Brian Smith.
Right. Yeah, they were
Like
calling
some
enhancement
random fucking
matches.
dude,
Yeah.
right? Jobbers, right?
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
throw them in there to build up the hype of this
Right.
particular wrestler to
Yeah.
get their ass handed to them, and then it would be like once a year, Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior. Or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Well, they used to
Like-
do
That's how
that
they
monthly
go for
with
the
the
payout,
Saturday
right?
Night's Main Events on NBC back in the 80s.
yeah, but then,
Yeah.
they only fought like once a year. Remember was it Macho Man and Hulk Hogan? They built that up for like a year and a half.
Well, that's back when you could, when
and then
wrestling was
by
Saturday
then-
mornings.
But I think they overdid that one because by the time they fucking fought, everyone was like, "Well, fuck, who cares now?" Like,
trial and error, right?
Yeah, that was like that. Okay, you push the envelope, and then you pushed another envelope. Like,
Right. Yeah, but I mean, those matches you're talking about, they're just enhancement matches. It pretty much just showcases like the attractions, abilities, and moves. And stuff.
all the special moves. Like, here's my finisher. Here's what I do when you're in the
here's
corner.
my signatures. Here's my finish.
Exactly.
Here's what kind
It
of
worked
character
great,
I am,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Worked great
but-
to establish
But
everybody's
now,
routines.
when you watch wrestling on TV or whatever, like the WCW WWE,
Yeah.
WCW doesn't exist. But,
Right.
But it's like fucking superstar versus
Yeah.
superstar, and then
Well,
superstar versus
it's-
other superstar, and
It's funny you mentioned WCW because that's the reason why it is like that now, right? Because WCW had like mega superstars, and so did WWF at the time.
and they merged.
And then what happened, right, is, okay, well, if we put Goldberg against Hollywood Hulk Hogan, they spiked the ratings. Okay, so we're going to put Steve Austin against The Rock, right? And then next thing you know, it was like 2 hours each show was just stacked with pay-per-view quality matches. And then that's why they would have to, overdo it. Like, I would have been a stressful time to be in the business, like on the...
Well, yeah,
on the
because how do you make a pay-per-view worth paying the fucking money for?
Right, when you just did a Nitro
if
that was
every
just as
fucking
good.
Monday, The Rock fights Steve Austin.
Right. So,
And he turns that son of a bitch sideways and sticks his own candy ass. You know what I mean?
Right, so it's just it's one of those things where both companies were trying to go one up on each other. They were just putting on really good matches. So now the fans expect that caliber of wrestling. If WWE did enhancement matches, man, like steadily, like what they used to do, they probably wouldn't be in business.
Yeah, could you imagine people tuning into Monday Night Raw and getting Barry Horowitz against the Ultimate Warrior?
Yeah, like
A 2-minute squash match, right?
Right. It's just evolution of the business, and this happens, so now you got to change this, and because this happens, now you got to change this, and it's just you look at it from the '80s, and you see the way it was, and you look at it now, and it's it's done a 720, right?
So, what was your opinion on the whole? Once they started calling it sports entertainment, once they made the shift to acknowledging the showmanship of the whole deal.
Well, it's great for guys my size because if you look back and over history, and there's a lot of it documented on YouTube. With perfect example would be a gentleman by the name of Dave Schultz, and it was an interviewer. His name was John Stockwell, I think, or something along those lines. Well, anyway, the premise of this story was that he walked up to him and said that he thinks wrestling's fake, and he was a mainstream interviewer.
Right.
So Dave Schultz did the only thing that he could think of to kayfabe the business and slapped him in the face and told him why he did it. And he knocked him down, and the guy got up and he slapped him again. So at that point, for a guy my size, it's good that it is this sort of entertainment-based thing. So if somebody walks up to me and says it's fake, I can say, yeah, it's kind of fake. So instead of having to punch him in the face and having to hand my ass to him.
And there's a difference between fake and, like, somewhat choreographed in that the moves are real. Like, these are... But there's professionals that know how to absorb the impact from this, how to take a hit.
Yeah, I've actually had the opportunity to dive off of the top turnbuckle onto my back.
That hurts.
Yeah.
Did you shit your pants?
No, got the wind knocked out of me.
No doubt.
Attaboy.
Yeah, you know, that's the big misconception that everybody thinks is like, you know, this is all smoke and mirrors and there's, you know, ways that you land and stuff. And honestly, it's just, you know, you got to be like, you know, a pretty tough individual, you know, because, you know, a lot of this is like, you know, I mean, try doing that, you know, 7-8 nights in a row, right? And then, you know, having 2 days off and then doing it 7-8 nights in a row again. Like, it just, you know, it's difficult, you know, and a lot of people think that it's, you know, this or that, and what it is just the people that will never get in there and they won't know. So if it's like, if you don't know, then just, you know, talk shit about it, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like same people that, you know, talk shit about magic, right? Well, you know, you're just talking shit because you don't know, and because you can't figure it out, that's what's pissing you off, right? You know, so same deal, right?
Yeah. Or you have those people who are like, well, I fucking know how he did it. Well,
right.
Good, then...
Right, and
go
then
do your own fucking magic show and shut up.
Right, and it's like the same with wrestling. You know, somebody will come up to you and say, "Hey, you know, I know how to fucking do this move. I know how to do a superplex," and you're like, "Oh, you know, tell me how you do it." And then they tell you, and it's like, "No, like you're not even close." Like, "Oh yeah, I grab him and you know, pull him as hard as I can off the top rope." Yeah, dude, if you do that, you're the one that's gonna break your neck, right?
It's a lot of moves are you
right?
and you working together.
Well,
like,
right.
I'm gonna do this.
So that's why
you
it's
have
called
to do this
working.
part. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That's interesting. And what about? I know this was. Okay, I don't know how often this happens anymore, but keeping a little piece of razor blade underneath your taping or anything, or like opening up a little cut or things like that.
Well, I keep it old school, man, on some aspects, so I won't comment on any of that stuff. But you know,
it happens maybe. Because I've seen you get opened up. I don't know. I couldn't do it.
Saw me opened up?
Yeah. In that promo.
Oh, that was a legit.
Yeah.
I got cracked in the face with a piece of steel.
My hoodie actually covered my face, and when I was in mid crack, I stopped it, and it just so happened to hit him on the corner of the eye. And
ladies and gentlemen, that's what you call hard way.
Yeah, and it was my hoodie. I swear to God, that went in my face. It wasn't because I really just don't like the guy.
Well, why would you come to a podcast with them? But, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back, and we'll have some more chat, and we got some other subjects to discuss, and hopefully if you guys want to, you're welcome to stick around and make fun of shit with us.
Perfect.
All right, cool.
Excellent.
You want your special day to be just right, right? Well, so did I. I called A2 Canada, and all the little details took care of themselves. An audio-video setup, photographer, and even a videographer, all working as a team to capture the memories I cared about. Oh, and I saved a bundle by getting them all in the same place. You should try it.
A2 Canada. Professionalism you can count on.
Oasis, epic sports pub, where you don't have to spend a lot to get a lot.
We're good.
Mix her on.
Thank you.
It's going to take offense to it.
I'm trying to keep up, but I don't know what we're talking about, so. I have never watched wrestling in my life.
That's okay. We will not blame you for this thing.
Okay.
So they're outside having coke, I think. Oh, bitch. Where's the chair?
No!
That's not a breakaway chair. But I bet you I can make it look like one.
No! Don't hit me.
I disapprove. Let's get rid of the empties.
Boogie.
So, why was that making the computer make noise? Because we used to use it and it didn't do that.
What happens is the actual connection is dirty, and then because it's trying to send digital information through here, it's also sending digital information through here, and the interference gets caused. That's what happens. And I don't want to risk the.
No.
Yeah, and with these guys, when they're talking, you're gonna have to stay on top of their mic.
Yeah, I am.
Because they're up and down.
Yeah,
So.
I'm definitely adjusting the sound a lot.
All right, I appreciate that because
As much
I know
as I
it's tough. What else are we gonna talk about this hat? I want to
This
talk
day in
about-
history.
What?
This day in history.
Oh yeah, shit.
You want to pull something up on there so you can read off it?
Yeah, and I want to talk about local music feature of the week is Tawny Lucas.
Oh yeah, that girl you played us a few days ago. Last week.
Was it on the show that I did that?
No, we were sitting around here when I came over to read lines Thursday.
Yes, probably.
The first parade to use floats occurred in New Orleans.
Nice.
That's random.
Yeah. And we'll keep those secret.
Oh yeah, the mic's around.
I gotta take a quick leak. Word.
Did you bring up this day in history stuff?
It's
I
yeah,
just
it's up,
did that
it's
right
up there.
now.
We're gonna do
I
it.
just did that
This we'll don't read any of the boring ones.
Yeah. I don't know.
So are these all people that are tweeting live or?
The top one is, and then mostly, this is just it's on Halifax channel, so it's only anything that we've put up mostly, and then
Awesome.
the hashtag IOHPC. I wonder.
Can I steal some crackers?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We generally have a streaming video page. Where's that? It's got a chat room we've incorporated right into Facebook, so you can just click on the
Oh, wicked man.
watch and chat. Do they have the watch and chat set up today?
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, it's always there.
Trying to go to the next
Just one of just one.
Yeah, there's
Just or something.
Probably a good idea.
So you guys are more than welcome to make fun of the things we're going to talk about now.
Wicked. Me and him, when we get on rants about chopping stuff up, just so you guys know, they can get pretty extreme.
Well,
Yeah, I love it.
welcome to our podcast.
Perfect, man. Great.
Looks like there's a beer for you there too, son.
Are you guys all set?
There's plenty more where that
Well,
came
actually,
from.
you can have that on
Maybe
one.
you guys are.
You don't want to know? Well, if the beer
And
shit's-
we're back. Welcome back, everybody. We're still here with NWA fellas. Oh, cracking some beers. cracking some beers. We got
Hi.
Matt and Jim, a.k.a.
JB Havoc.
And Jackson Fury.
Yeah. How hard is it to get in character? Like when you gotta can you guys do you have that quick snap?
I do.
switch? Yeah?
I do. Just over years of doing it, you just know when to turn it on and turn it off. Whereas when I first started, it took me hours to kind of get into that. But I mean, there's been times where I've been talking to Jim and then just turn around and walk with the curtain and it's boom, right? So
Yeah.
just a lot of it's just experience and knowing your stuff, right?
Well, and I was talking to Kevin from Indie Forge Media, who cut that promo that we were
Right.
that we were mentioning, and he was telling me a story about when you were getting amped up to get into your villainous kind of character, and he told everybody, okay, well, just once I get into this, just kind of just let it happen
Right.
kind of thing. Is that
Yeah.
just a regular thing? You turn it on and you just
Turn it on and turn it off. I play like my character's like just like a crazy egocentric madman, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, so I just, it's just, for me, it's easy just to turn it on and turn it off, right? Because I know what to do when I go out there, I've been doing it for years, right? So.
And so are you comfortable with that, Jim, when you know he's going to turn it on and you're about to...
Oh, you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
With experience, it's when it's go time and when it's give a hug and a beer time,
So have you got any method to prepare for those big hits, or just for a performance in general? Has it come quick to you or what?
Stretch and hope for the best.
The words to live by right there.
Oh, there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Hope for no
Hope you don't
wardrobe
get
malfunctions.
or concussions or broken bones. And
Speaking of wardrobe malfunctions, did you guys watch UFC at all? Are you guys fans?
I'm not. I'm anti UFC because of like wrestling, right? So
Yeah.
That's fair.
I just support one or the other. Well, I obviously support wrestling. Right? So.
I feel bad about like the whole you have to support one or the other. They're two very different things.
I don't necessarily know if that's the case. I think that's just like general media making it the case. So it's like being a wrestler.
Well, it's the UFC wants to separate it. They're like we're not what they're doing, and then wrestling is like, well, we're not
right.
what they're doing.
But there's a lot of wrestlers like Samoa Joe, and I mean there's tons of other guys that incorporate like that MMA aspect into their gimmick. There's a lot of wrestlers that like MMA. I'm one of those guys that I just I like wrestling, and I still watch the current product, even though sometimes it's hard, but I still try to watch it and learn as much because it's just one of those things where it's like if you want to get better over time, you got to like watch stuff. You got to get in the ring with guys that are better than you, so they can show you something. And
it's like any sport,
right?
Like
you just
playing
learn.
Soccer with guys that suck, you're not going to get any better
Right.
at soccer. If you're playing
Right.
pool with guys that suck, you're not going to get
Right.
any better at pool.
Yeah,
Right.
and,
And that's the way you learn, right? And you learn by and there's the reasons why wrestling has veterans, right? Because they teach you stuff. You usually you go there's guys that if I got in the ring and wrestled tomorrow, I'd learn stuff off of, right? And that's and it necessarily doesn't even have to be a veteran. It could just be a guy with a different style that just knows. It's weird how you pick up on that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into a couple other segments that we do on this show, one of which is called This Day in History. And so today being February 24th,
Right.
in 1803, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled itself to be the final interpreter of all constitutional issues. So basically they were just like...
That was right after they made the country, I'm pretty sure. It wasn't too long after.
Yeah, no.
That kind of makes sense to me, I guess.
Yeah, they were kind of like, all right, stop this arguing shit. We'll solve your arguments.
Yeah.
That's basically what they did.
Most of it was boring.
I know, right?
It's all fucking American.
Thomas Edison got married on this day.
It's like trying to watch Jeopardy. It's all questions about American history. Pisses me off. Because I'd be killing that shit.
Yeah, reading down through these, skipping ahead is like watching a Shane Douglas match. Boring as fuck.
For the wrestling fans out there.
Don't worry, Shane Douglas. JB Havoc's a mark for you. Get at me on Twitter.
Why would he do that?
Give
He
me
threw down an NWA belt. I want to piss on him.
Give me a follower.
A follower. I'm sure Shane's got nothing to do on a Sunday too.
Yeah.
Reminiscing over his 2-minute career.
We can tweet over the injustices in the business.
For the record, Shane Douglas, you suck.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar nailed his first three-pointer on this day, 1987.
I'm sure he probably nailed his first groupie on that day too.
Well, what's impressive is that motherfucker was a 7-footer. So,
Yeah,
and he
imagine-
has huge hands. So at that point, that's like
You can
shooting a
imagine
marble at a garbage can.
And you can imagine the groupie that got wrecked by his dong, eh? Ooh.
Oh,
Beastly.
No comment.
Well,
Wayne's World opened this day in 1992.
Sad moment in American theater.
Hey, come on!
I don't know, man. That was an awesome movie.
I love that movie.
The Wayne's World headbanging moment for the Bohemian Rhapsody.
The only cool part of that segment was the gremlin. The car.
I don't know, Dane Carvey and the foxy lady dance he did. Come on. The whole thing was ridiculous. That was kind of the point. So I found that funny.
Yeah.
What else have we got? Cuba's parliament named Raul Castro president.
Oh, there we go.
His brother Fidel had ruled for nearly 50 years.
Yeah. You
So
know.
basically they were just like, okay, you want to retire? Where's your brother? Let's go get that fucker.
Well, that's a dictatorship for you.
Yeah.
Well,
give-
exactly.
Exactly.
Instead of
Keep
giving
it in the
it
family.
to the dog shit, give it to the cat shit, right?
Yep. So that was a pretty shitty this day in history. Usually we always find one nugget of like, holy fuck, really?
Well, like, look at this. Dick Enberg received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Who in the fuck is Dick Enberg?
I don't know.
Why do I give a shit?
I know that Emily's gonna Google it because that's what she does. She's a pro Googler.
Well, I'd like to know who that is too, and what did he do to get a walk of...
American sportscaster.
Really?
An American sportscaster, huh? I'm pretty sure the only American sportscaster I know is Howard Cosell.
Well, hopefully...
Just because I love the way he talks.
Hey, good. Go. Oh.
And I'm a huge boxing fan too. So classic boxing, he was the one guy that always was there announcing the big match.
You know who replaces him to me in like the present day is Bob Costas.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Marv Albert guy. Jordan, yes.
Apparently, this guy's catchphrase was "Oh my."
Oh my.
Oh,
Charismatic
my.
as fuck, that guy.
Yeah, it sounds like an interesting fella.
If I had a quarter
that
for every
guy?
time I heard that, I'd be 75 cents richer.
Hashtag oh my.
Yeah. Hashtag oh my. That's not nearly as good as boom goes the dynamite.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Best sportscasting thing ever. I think that's pretty much anything worth reading on this day in history. So sorry, folks, that was
Today
a shitty one.
sucks.
So just
Today
say
in
February
history,
24
blue dick.
sucks?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
February 24.
Remember
Fuck
that for
that.
next year when we're doing this.
Anybody born on February 24th, we're sorry.
I always want to go, like, every once in a while I'm like, so what happened tomorrow? Like, because nothing happened today. But there's usually, like, one, like, wow, that's crazy. But there wasn't one of those this week. Our musician of the week, we're going to start this new feature.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wasn't aware that was...
Local music feature of the week.
Why is that a thing?
Why is that? Why was that not a thing?
True enough.
We talk through a lot of local artists, and we deal with a lot of local musicians on a weekly basis with this podcast. And I'm a musician myself, and I do promotions and things. But I got to tell you, Tawny Lucas, who used to play at the open mic at Oasis all the time, and like I'd heard her sort of like developing,
Right.
And now she's become her own. She's got her own album out. It's called Fluorescent. It's absolutely amazing. She's fantastic. Her voice is very, like, genuine. So check her out. We can't play any. Well, we could probably play some, but we'll wait till the end of the episode and we'll play a tune as we're leaving. That way the folks at home can have a listen.
I thought I saw a little notification there just a moment ago as well, but I could be losing my mind.
You are probably losing your fucking.
That happens. That happens sometimes. I've been running around quite a bit.
Yeah, no, you lost your fucking mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just spent the entire day doing a really offensive short with a bunch of guys I know who are looking to create a web series. It involved someone dressing in drag and wearing a wig on their head. Or
Nice.
a wig made of a mop, actually.
That's
Well,
really
I hope it works out for them.
It was very Bugs Bunny-esque when he throw the mop on top of his head and dress in drag, which happened a lot. Come to think of it.
What,
Well,
Bugs Bunny
teach
dressed in
their
drag?
own, right? You know, teach
Well,
their own.
whatever rubs
What's
your...
up, Doc?
what-
Anyway, yeah, no. Google Glass was announced this week that they're looking for basically people to test it. You have to be in the States, but they're launching it. It's the basically glasses that you wear. Has a camera. You can take pictures. You talk to the whole thing. We've actually posted a link on our Facebook page. You can go there. But it's pretty fucking awesome. Some of the cool shit you can do. There was examples of like some guy jumping off a cliff with a paraglider, and he's
Wow.
Google, or no, what is it?
Glass.
Glass. Take a picture. Glass. Record a video.
It's
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like talk to your glasses, and they just do this shit. It's
Technology's
crazy.
come so far, and I don't know anything about any of it, but that sounds so awesome.
Well, imagine what you could do with it as wrestlers. I mean, you could throw on a pair for the beginning of the match and take photos or videos of the first little bit or your entrance or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess it'd be like a cool alternate feature for like.
You know what?
a lot of
You know
people
what?
Yeah,
like
it-
yourself.
It just occurred to me now, but it's really going to change how people shoot porn.
Oh,
wow.
everything's gonna be POV from going
Oh.
forward,
Oh yeah.
which is all right with me because I
Yeah.
like that anyways, right? So
Yeah.
what's that?
Well, yeah, 'cause, I mean, with Google Glass, you won't have to hold a camera.
Yeah, it gives you an extra hand to hold something else.
Right,
Anyways,
right,
I'm
right.
saying.
I question the morality of the young lady that allows you to do that, but and at the same time, I want her phone number.
Everybody needs
yeah,
a paycheck,
seriously?
right?
I know.
Yeah, it's true.
And again, for my children,
Brianna
I'm sorry,
Banks once again. JB Havoc at Matt Bullen 3. Give me a follow.
Yeah.
I'm not fussy. Jackson Fury at Jackson Fury. Just anybody that wants to.
I'm not fussy.
Yeah.
will-
I like girls that say yes.
If you know what ring rat means, ladies, add me to Twitter.
Ring
Yeah.
rat.
Is that similar to a puck bag?
Excuse me, dear. Does this cloth smell like chloroform?
That's my favorite pickup line. I
I can't remember what movie I saw that on, but it's classic.
Hey, does this rag smell like chloroform to you?
Oh, that was
Just
off Hall
kidding.
Pass.
I don't know.
That was off Hall Pass.
Yeah, it was
so,
on.
yeah.
It was on Hall Pass.
No.
Yeah. In other news, for those that are UFC fans, the Oasis is actually giving away a trip to see George St. Pierre.
I just want to go to Montreal for the strip clubs.
Yep.
The UFC would be great.
I want
mind you,
George
but-
St. Pierre to come out wearing a Jackson Fury t-shirt.
Well, George St. Pierre is one of those. He's one of those MMA guys that he almost, when he beat everyone in his division before he got hurt, before he had his surgery and stuff, he'd beaten everyone in his division, and he pondered leaving the UFC to go wrestle for Team Canada in the Olympics and doing that like.
And
there
he
was
would have
talk of
done.
that. I
and he would
remember
have
hearing that.
dominated.
Oh
He
yeah,
would've done
well, I mean
well.
the guy will get knocked out with the bitch slap. So I mean, if he should go into some sport where he doesn't take punches in the face for a living, right?
Well, he's actually got a
Because I
pretty
mean, when Matt
decent
Serra,
chin.
well, Matt Serra knocks you out, I have to
Oh,
second
that was a
Oh,
that was a
let's-
fluke.
Let's be
That's-
honest.
that's
That
a-
was kind of. That was kind of a lucky shot.
I actually
Mind you,
I remember
was
that
Sarah's
match
hope.
really
That was
really
his whole
well.
game plan.
I lost a lot of money that night.
Yeah, me too. That's why I don't like George St. Pierre.
It taught me a very strict lesson about betting on sporting events.
But I got a question for you guys, and I know it's your podcast, so I'm sorry to
Hey.
No, that's
guys
okay.
ask the
Do it.
questions,
Do
but,
it.
You know, and it was funny back in like the late '90s, right, when wrestling was big. It seemed like Bret Hart was like the emperor of Canada.
He was my hero for a little while.
Would you say George St. Pierre would be like the Bret Hart of like the current era?
Well, I think he's representing Canada in a sport
But do you think
dominated by.
Do you think he has a Canadian mystique to him, like a Gretzky or a Bret Hart does?
In time.
I say he does. I say
Yeah, I think just
Like-
with the accent alone,
Well, just yeah.
because he's not only representing Canadians, he's representing French Canadians, which are, I mean, as far as the world stage goes, as far as other people are considered,
Yeah,
they
he's
think
not-
of
he's not
Canada,
doing
they
a
think
lot
of
Right.
Quebecois or
stereotypes.
Right.
Acadian French or whatever.
He's not doing a lot for our stereotypes as far as like, oh, everybody in Canada speaks French, right?
But at least he's like he's like quintessentially Canadian. There's
No, he
something
totally
about him.
he totally is, and people who are MMA fans love him because not only is he like a champion and he's beaten everybody that they've thrown at him, he's one of those guys where you meet him and everybody I've ever talked to that met him is like, he was the nicest fucking guy.
Well, that's
he
the
was
other-
just the nicest,
I don't know.
genuine guy.
I don't know if he's got the charisma of the Hitman though.
Well,
No, well, that's-
there's a point to be made about George St. Pierre as well, especially with the game of MMA, or the Hitman himself. I mean, that guy, if you see him in public, he's probably wearing a Hitman T-shirt. You know, I'm just hoping you'd buy one from him at some point. He lived the gimmick. He was always Bret Hitman Hart, no matter what. You know, he's
Yeah,
eating
I mean,
his
he's got-
cornflakes. He's having his morning
he
number
owns
2.
a fucking hockey team called the Calgary Hitmen.
Well, he hasn't owned that for years.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
He did.
he founded
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Right?
But
Yes,
I don't think his gimmick was too far off of him.
Well, no, because he lived it every day.
Well, yeah,
what you saw on
absolutely. He
TV
lived
was
and
that was
breathed.
Bret Hart out back. That was Bret Hart when he was having his morning number 2 with his coffee. That was Bret
There-
Hitman Hart.
But
No
there were
disrespect,
there's
but
very
you had
few
to then.
wrestlers that
Yeah.
were like that.
Well,
That were
that's-
like all the fucking time.
Well, that was my point going back to George St. Pierre. When you see him at whether it be personal appearances or even after a bout at the press conference, the guy's in a an $8,000-9,000 suit.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he's articulate, and he's a good-looking guy too. So
Yeah, and he's a
he
good
adds to that
sport.
marketability, right?
Yeah.
well, he wasn't after
He's
his
a
last
gentleman.
fight.
No.
Oh well,
Not a pretty looking man that day.
Some days it's a hard day at the office, right?
well,
just like anything else,
he was
yeah.
still a
Yeah.
class act, but man, I've never seen somebody so beat up in
Did he win
such a
his
nice
last-
suit. He
I
did.
don't know. I don't watch
He did.
UFC, so.
It was.
he won the fight, but fuck, it
Yeah,
didn't
he
look like he
Took a
did.
pounding, eh?
Just shows he's a tough man, right?
Oh yeah,
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean, he took a
bruising
licking,
all
but-
up one side of his face. He was cut up.
Talking about a pounding in the UFC that it was really severe. Did you see that second Brock Lesnar Frank Mir when Brock Lesnar had
Yep.
him on the ground in his face and he was just
Smashing
Oh.
his face.
Smashing him with
and
his
he got
punch.
up in his face. Oh,
Yeah.
I've never seen a face look like that.
Well, I mean,
before.
it's
And it was funny because there was somebody that because his pre-fight interview, Brock Lesnar was like, "Hey, the man pulled some crazy move, and he got me in a lucky leg lock last time. Da da da. Not gonna let that happen again. And I'll tell you something: if I bull rush him and he goes down, there's nothing he can do when these lunchboxes start coming down.
Oh,
on him.
Yeah.
Lunchbox is well said.
It's like getting beaten by cinder blocks. It's
Yeah.
just, it was like you said, he's kind of a freak of nature.
And he fucking took at least like fucking 10 of those punches, like square to the face. So, like Lesnar had his arms pinned behind his back. It was just fucking wailing on him. I couldn't believe it. Like, but whatever you want to do for a living, I guess.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
I hope you get a good payout for that night, man.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, that's the set, like, George St. Pierre. Everybody fucking loves the guy.
Right.
The guy wins the fight. He's out there with an ice pack on his head trying to put this swelling down while this one's out to here.
Right.
And he's just, like, answering questions and being totally cordial and, like you said, very articulate.
Yeah,
And you're just like,
I think he
you just got your
fucked very
brain
well.
beat in, dude. How are you talking right now?
Yeah, but in the same sense, though, it's kind of good to see guys like that, right? You know, the guys that don't let, like, the bullshit and the politics and the egos and the money and everything else go to their head, right? Guys that can be grounded and stuff.
But there's another thing about him, like you go back to the Gretzky and the Hitman,
Right.
they were proudly Canadian.
Right.
He's the same. Like, he almost quit MMA because he'd beaten everyone in his
Right.
weight class to go wrestle for the country, to go
Right.
do something different and represent Canada.
Right. Well, I mean, when you make enough money that you can pretty much do whatever you want, right? I mean, that's probably where he's at. Wants to do something that's exciting, and maybe that was one of his goals in life, was to do something like that, right?
Well, think of the corporate sponsorships that he would have had to go to the Olympics. He would have done it for free.
Sorry, George, stay in MMA, because apparently that's not going to happen.
Yeah, Kurt Angle was going to make a run for
Yeah,
the
well.
London Olympics as well, which is kind of laughable.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
he's
been
a
years
little
since he
aged.
performed.
Yeah.
It's-
But I mean, like, you got those guys that want to. A lot of MMA guys, John Bones Jones, those guys are like pissed that wrestling is leaving the Olympics. Everybody's
Right.
kind of like, what?
Well, a lot of those guys are like have wrestling backgrounds.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
At least half of those guys are wrestling backgrounds. If they're not BJJ guys that have come over,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they're purist in them, and that's like amateur wrestlers or Greco-Roman wrestlers. You'll never meet more of a purist as far as the sport goes. Pure sport, pure one-on-one competition.
And you hear people talk like
fanatical.
that about boxing.
Right.
Like, well,
Yeah.
boxing is boxing and it's a beautiful sport. And it can be a beautiful sport, but it's been ruined by
Politics,
fixes
essentially.
and politics and...
Well,
Just-
like boxing is like, like anybody, and same way, and this is like the same way with MMA. Like, you walk in there, and you know what, like you could be tougher or not. It doesn't matter if the right guy hits the other guy with a lucky punch, it's over, right? Whereas like wrestling, like Jackson was saying, is like pure. It's like you actually got to be physically dominant to be able to put that person to the ground, right? So it's like using techniques, but like without like resorting in a punch, And,
judo is
right,
similar
and
in that.
judo's the same way, right? You just like it's more technique,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think with boxing, it's less of a lucky punch situation because the gloves are so much bigger than in MMA. I mean, a punch that lands clean. I mean, well, a punch in boxing just really has to land clean to just knock somebody out.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, a lot of the stoppages you see in boxing are from cuts or technical knockouts or things like that. But in the UFC, I mean, where you can get a match ended by a solid kick, or
Right.
the gloves are so small that you smoke somebody in the jaw and they're just.
But I mean,
they're done.
that's half the fun, I think, of MMA to me, is that this fight, these two guys could either stand up and beat the shit out of each other, wrestle
Right.
and beat the shit out of each other, or it could be this guy wants to take this guy down, this guy wants to stand up.
Right.
Because it's a mishmash of styles. Like you said, nobody's particularly,
You don't see that so much in the the modern era UFCs, but if you look back to the original, the Godfather of UFCs,
Royce Gracie and
Exactly.
Ken Shamrock
I mean,
and
there were so many different. Well, I wouldn't even get into the rule aspect with the rounds and what have you, but it's. I mean, you'd see Royce Gracie become a champion, which was only a $25,000 purse to win a tournament. You'd have to appear 3 times to get that.
in one night.
But how many times do you see
Right.
him reach under somebody's throat and pull his gi across and choke you out with his gi? That was legal. How many times do you see Keith
Well-
Hackney punch a guy in the nuts to get the guy to go down, and that would happen ridiculously over and over and over.
That's true.
You're in a chokehold, you grab the guy by the balls and squeeze, and that was on camera.
But back in the day, who was that guy that I don't know who his name is, but Tank Abbott had him against the cage and just fucking one punched him, but he buckled to his knees and flipped back. That was the most devastating knockout I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that too, because I remember one of the more devastating knockouts I've seen was Tank Abbott getting his lights put off.
Yeah, well, that happened a lot too.
So yeah,
because those guys were like swinging for fences.
Well, and
right?
it was this little dude who, I mean, Tank Abbott must have towered over him by at least 5 inches, and this guy, he must have outweighed him by 40, 50, 60 pounds, and this little guy the match was about 10 seconds long. He just comes straight in and hits him with this like jumping, spinning heel kick, just square in the jaw, and he crumples like a sack of potatoes, and it was just weird to see because those big flourishy kicks in Taekwondo or whatever style, you don't see much of that these days. I mean,
well, I mean, you want to talk about wrestling again? MMA crossovers. Ken Shamrock,
right?
One of the
good example.
Fucking,
good job.
Original, amazing, fucking godfathers of MMA.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was a good pro fucking wrestler.
He was fast.
And he was fast. He was quick. He had a gimmick. He knew what his thing was. His, I don't know, it was a toe hold or something. I don't know.
That was ankle lock.
Yeah.
He was doing the ankle lock before Kurt Angle did. Yeah.
But I used to.
And didn't he break somebody's ankle one time? It was an accident, but he played it like they played it up like that's what wrestling is like famous for too. Like
playing up injuries.
I'm really fucking sorry I broke your ankle, but we're gonna play this up. Like clearly, I snapped your ankle in half. But...
Oops.
Let's
use it.
That's stuff happens,
Accidents will occur.
Exactly, and it's just one of those things where you get guys that love what they do and they put so much pride and effort into what they do. I mean, sometimes there's mistakes, right? But generally trying to be a professional, we always hope that there never will be, right?
Well, and it always discussing something like that, the match between Mankind and I believe it was The Undertaker. The Hell in a Cell match.
With the double level cell.
No, it was the one where Mick Foley got chokeslammed through the cage and landed on a chair, and like he lost a bunch of teeth, and holy fuck.
Yeah, that would hurt.
I've boxing matches, MMA matches. I don't know if I've ever seen one quite as brutal.
Well, with that Mick Foley match, the only planned bump was where Taker sent him off the top of the cage. That was the plan. He wasn't
through the table.
Yeah, and in the first Hell in the Cell that he went through the panel, that was not planned. He was
because he landed on that chair pretty awkwardly, and they didn't expect the cage to give out.
No, yeah, and you could see it buckling as they were walking across it.
Because that was a double level cage, wasn't it?
No.
Right. You just chokeslammed him through.
It was because it was a Hell in a Cell because it had a cage at the top. It was sealed.
Yeah.
But the fact that they just continued on with that, after he lost a bunch of teeth, and I mean, it must have went on for a good solid 10 minutes after that, or more.
He did a thumbtack spot.
He did. Yep.
I was in a ladder match, and I was climbing up to the top of the ladder to get the belt down, and Buddy came off and drop kicked me and knocked the ladder off, and it was just like one of those awkward, like he hit it way too hard, so it was just I couldn't counterbalance it, and snapped my ankle in half, stretched my Achilles tendon in the process. Still had to wrestle for 15 minutes, and because it's just one of those things where it's like, sometimes if you get hurt you can get out of that match like quickly, but then there's just other times where if you get hurt that you can't, because if it's. So
maybe it's early in the match, maybe it's a main event kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe there's something coming up where this is going to happen to
like
set
a
up
scripted moment.
Right. So it's just those things where you always go out there and you always hope for the best and take care of each other. But I mean, there is mishaps and misfortunes, and people do make errors because everybody's human and everybody's judgment's not always like 100% on, right?
Well, and I think that whole the show must go on mentality is definitely different than a lot of boxing or MMA matches. I mean, you see an MMA match where some guy takes a kick to the thigh that's a little too high, and it's just immediately, like 40 seconds, everyone takes a sit down, and
I think
doctors come out, and
I think with wrestlers, it's like if you're promoted on the show, like there's going to be fans that are there to see. You know, there's going to be a few people, whether it's 5, 50, 500, 5,000. You know, there's going to be people that like you. So there's going to be always somebody that's going to pay behind money to come and see you, no matter where you are, what you're doing, right? So with the wrestling aspect, it's like if you're advertised for the event, right? I mean, you know, as a wrestler, you know, you want to make those events because you don't want to be like one of those guys that like people think just no shows, right?
Yeah, as a musician, I find it a lot easier. You know, my worst fear is like, oh, I'm on stage and I break a fucking string and I got to take 2 minutes to restring my guitar. Right. Like that's still a problem for me.
But that's still
breaking
a big problem.
Breaking my fucking
though,
ankle
right?
in the middle of a fucking musical show. Probably not an issue I need to deal with.
Right. But
know.
I mean, you know, it's just, you know, it's different things. I mean, when you break a string, you were probably get stressed out as I was when I snapped my ankle, still knowing I had to go 15 more minutes. And the guy that I was wrestling, you know, was pretty much like a new guy just starting in the business. So unfortunately at that time you can't rely on that guy to carry the match. So you're working with pain, like numbing pain, trying to, you know, figure this whole match out as it goes, you know. So just, you know, but it's probably the same stress level, just on like, you know, with wrestling you expect that, like, you know, that every chance you walk out there's a chance you can get hurt. You just hope that you don't, right?
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
I mean, I'm getting old now, right? And I play soccer, and I feel that way every time I fucking step on a soccer field. Like, you know, because there's guys out there that, you know, they're 35, 40, whatever. They're not really good at soccer. That's why they play in the league we're playing in,
Right.
and like they could hurt me because they're big guys
Right.
and don't have a lot of coordination, and those are the guys you don't, you know.
But the way that I look at it, though, and everybody's like, well, why would you want to be a wrestler, and like, why do you want to take these chances? And I say to those same people, well, you know, like, do you walk across the street every day? And they're like, yeah, well,
You could get hit by a car.
right. It's you know, you take chances in life no matter what you do, right? And some people just sit there and they look at the pros and the cons, and then they just focus on the cons, right? Whereas, you know, like the people that actually go out there and play music for a living, or act for a living, or wrestle for a living, or fight professionally for a living, you know, do it because
Passion.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's funny because, like, yeah, people get beat up in MMA and in boxing and these
Right.
sports. And you got those people on the other side going like, well, why the fuck are these people allowed to do this? It's barbaric. It's this, it's that. Well, less people get hurt doing that than fucking NASCAR driving. And
Less people die on an annual basis, that's for sure.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Like, why is there such a stigma?
Yeah, I mean, if it's something that you want to do, who's to tell you, like, you're wrong for doing that?
Like, it's like,
whatever.
where do these people
Yeah.
decide to draw the line? Like, Greco-Roman wrestling is all good.
Right.
But don't do pro wrestling because they jump off of ropes.
Right.
Like, what? Like, where's that fucking line in your head?
Yeah, it's like, you know, people...
Boxing is good because you wear big gloves. MMA, oh, that's fucking barbaric.
Well, it's like this. Amateur wrestling is like, you know, and then reason why a lot of people transition into pros, because there's no money in amateur wrestling. It's like being a dancer.
Yeah, there's no
like,
exposure.
Like, unless you have like a high-paying dance job, I mean, there's no money in that as a real performing arts.
Yeah,
right?
you gotta be
So-
a backup dancer for fucking J-Lo
Right,
or some
right,
shit,
or,
right?
or you know, or but you see it a lot of times. You know, they turn into strippers and stuff like that just because like that's a way that they make money knowing what they do, right?
Yeah.
So you know, same guidelines, same contacts, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's just
So I'm destined to be a busker, is what you're saying.
well,
Make some money.
if you know, if you can't, if you don't sell,
I know a guy who fucking makes his living being a busker and he loves it.
nothing wrong with
But
that.
that's his personality, right?
Yeah. Some
Not
people-
exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, so to some people, it's not always all about the money. It's just about the passion, and you know, and if you can make enough money to pay your rent and get by, well, hey, great, right?
I guess
Well,
that's the
that's-
dream, eh?
That's
Yeah.
the dream is, yeah, and I made 3 years of my life. I paid my bills acting and playing music
Right.
and doing musicals, and I had to learn how to dance and do stupid shit like that, and that I wasn't as exactly keen on, but it paid the bills, and
Yeah.
I got to act and do nothing basically. Well, I say do nothing, but it was a lot of work, but it was what I loved.
Right.
So if you can do that wrestling or boxing, or why wouldn't you, right?
Well, exactly. You know,
Fair
or,
enough, yeah.
you know, being a pilot or being, you know, like whatever in life you want to do, just just go do it. And you know, the people that sit there and say that you can't do it are just the people that are too scared to go out there and try it themselves, right? You know, I had tons of people say, well, like, oh, you're such a smart guy, you should go to university and college, and maybe they're right, but you know, this is what I'm wanting to do, right? So I'm going to do this, and you know, if I know by the time I'm 30, if I'm not making money, then you know, reevaluate my life. But until then, I'm going to get balls to the walls with it, right? You know, and fuck what everybody says, because I really don't give a shit. You know, I'm just going to do what I want to do, and that's it. You know, so
That's
Church.
that's a good outlook on life. I personally
Church.
subscribe to the same sort of mentality.
Perfect.
I run a bar. I have a thing about beer. I love beer. I'm a bit of a snob, even though I'm drinking Bud Light because we were short money that day. But typically, I
don't even think they had two
I think
fourths.
the guy either said like.
Dan. My buddy Dan. He's been talking about his favorite wrestling moments. Abbott versus Mantua was the 18-second fight.
Is that the one?
Yeah, I think that was the
Tank
one I
Abbott
was
knocked
talking
out?
about, where he knocked out Tank Abbott, where he just.
Gotcha. I was
Yeah.
wondering if that was the guy that Tank Abbott knocked out with.
But he also mentioned, or it might have been, I'm not sure. Well, we'll have to look it up. But he also linked to his favorite what the fuck pro wrestling moment, aside from Taker versus Mankind, was Jeff Hardy's Swanton Bomb at the first TLC match. When he was
That's tables, ladders, chairs.
Yeah.
For those of you that are not
not savvy.
wrestling lingo savvy.
And click on that link, would you, Emily? I want to see what he's got there.
Oh, I've got the mouse.
Oh, there you go.
I will click on it. Watch.
Now I'm
I can do
interested
stuff
because
now.
I remember that match in particular.
Oh my God, he's got a video.
Well, he did it every one of their TLC matches. So
This one.
Yeah,
the
that-
sick
Oh,
one.
yeah.
through Bubba, yeah.
On the concrete.
Whoa.
Oh,
Yeah, that's WrestleMania 17.
yeah.
What was he fucking thinking?
And that's unfortunate, man, because Jeff Hardy's so banged up nowadays because of doing stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? And,
But that was their whole shtick. When the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff Hardy, when they came on the scene, their whole thing was like, we're fucking hardcore bitches, get out of the fucking way. And what was the chick's name? Lena?
Lita.
Lita.
Yeah.
Actually, they were jobbers in the WWE for probably 8 years before you ever heard about Team Extreme.
Yeah.
And that's.
I shouldn't say 8 years. How many? Maybe 4 years, 3 years.
Oh.
I don't know. Some guy look it up and post it on the website here so we know.
Yeah.
Starlit Romantic. How long were Hardy Boys in WWE before they were Team Extreme? That's your mission.
That's, yeah.
And if anybody knows, it's Dan.
Yeah.
Dan, is it?
Yeah.
Get on it,
His
Dan.
name is Dan.
I am happy though to see that like pro wrestling is getting away from like this type of stuff because like at this point when they were starting to do this, they didn't know the long term effects that it was going to have on their performers, and now you can look at Jeff Hardy and see what the long term effects are.
And you look
right?
at a guy like Chris Benoit, the Canadian
Right.
crippler. I mean, sustaining multiple concussions over the course of years.
We've talked about that on the show before,
Yeah.
comparing it to football players and
Right.
the mental illness that comes from sustaining that much damage to your fucking brain.
Well, it's just unnecessary risks, right? That look cool, but I mean, really, would the match have been the drizzle and shits if he didn't do that? No, not at all, right?
No, it was crazy good.
But is it memorable because he did? Well,
A little bit more, but is it worth it? I mean,
Right? Is it long term? Is it worth it? When you have to rely on pills every single day, right?
Yeah, and I guess that comes down to just personal decision. I mean,
Yeah.
there are some people out there who are just willing to sacrifice their health to kind of carve out their own little space in the world. But
Yeah, and that's what Jeff Hardy did.
That's where we are.
yeah, and who's to say that that's a wrong thing to do?
But Jeff Hardy, he's an awesome performer, and God bless him for everything that he's given into the business, because there's not many guys that go out there and go balls to the walls like that. Like he'll literally, and Rob Van Dam's the same way, right? Like those guys will fuck shit up.
Like there was a while there, like 6 months to a year, where everything was all about hardcore match.
Right.
The hardcore match.
Yep.
Hardcore.
Well, I
The
think
thumbtacks, the baseball bats, the sticks with barbed wire wrapped around it.
Not-
the fucking.
No, I'm not a fan of that at all.
No, I mean,
me
and that was,
neither.
I think,
and that
when
was always like, what the fuck?
Strategically placed, it adds to a show or adds to a card without question, because there's that demographic that likes it and loves it.
Yeah.
But it being the main focus, like Monday Night Raw, we're gonna have like these 6 jobbers punch each other for an hour and entertain you while we get ready for this hardcore match where Mankind is gonna have half his face ripped off.
It's funny that you say
body.
that, because when I first broke into wrestling, like that was like that it was still in that era of like hardcore. It's like everything that the fucking promoters want you to do is hardcore, right?
Well, when ECW was just before it was incorporated into the whole WWE machine,
right.
I remember like some of the Cactus Jack matches where the ropes were literally just laced with barbed wire.
Yep.
Did
And-
he do any of that in ECW, or was that his Japanese shit with Terry Funk?
Oh, I don't know.
It could have been, but I mean he's known for
Probably
pushing the
both.
But I mean,
limits.
Imagine.
okay, and it's fiction in a way, but the movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
You guys saw that, yeah? I'm
Yeah.
assuming. That, to me, epitomizes what those hardcore guys are going to be.
Not
Like the guys that
not-
took the stupid risks for no reason. Like the match could have been amazing without doing that dumb thing. But
Yeah,
it was a kind of a cool take on eventually this could be your life if you.
Well, it's kind of it's a good look at some of the guys during the 80s.
That didn't
dare I
make
say
money.
that they were made really good money, but they always thought, well, man, I'm gonna make some more.
I'll make money forever, so why not spend
absolutely
it now?
right. And that's just, I mean, there's also guys from that era that made their money and get out of the business and did other things. So Roddy Piper's a great example, and he can still pop into the business, still get the pops that he got back then. And there's more examples of just Roddy Piper. But
on the other side of that, you got Razor Ramon comes to mind, who made his money and then ended up just kind of blowing it.
Made a lot of money.
He made a lot of money. Yes, at the same time.
Blow.
Oh well, I mean he's
Well, some people,
but that's the thing with wrestling, right? Is you take a lot of guys, right? That like wrestling. When you wrestle on the indies, like you're lucky if you make enough money to pay your rent, right? So the guys that can work the indies and make that much money, that that's great. They're making pro wrestling is their full-time job. For the other guys that aren't as fortunate, so you gotta so when you get used to being broke for so many years, right? Because you're just scraping by doing what you love, and all of a sudden you get this big huge contract, right? And you have things like drugs and women and stuff that you never had before because it just wasn't available to you, right?
Well, it's
you see how some guys act, and you see what happens to Scott Hall, right?
Child stars in music,
same deal, right?
I mean, name a fucking sport, where all of a sudden you go from nothing to rich as fuck.
Right.
That messes with a lot of people.
Oh, it's gonna fuck anybody
Danny
up.
Heatley, fucking the drunk driving shit, killing his best friend.
Right.
You got all kinds of. Bobby Probert had a huge coke problem in the NHL. They kicked him out of the NHL for years until he could prove for X amount of time that he was clean again. And
right.
Eventually he died. There's just all that bullshit. There's a lot of in any walk of life.
Right.
There's always going to be people that don't know what to do with the success they have.
True.
People who are more dangerous when successful.
Yeah, and it's just a shitty thing when it's in the public eye because everybody makes such a big deal about it. But I mean, there's millions of people that aren't in the public eye that have the same problems, right? People sit there and they say and dog Scott Hall or whatever. I mean, you go and you work the schedule Scott Hall did for consistent years and all that stuff, right?
Live a day in the shoes, yeah.
Right. And I mean, everybody's sitting there, throw. You can't sit there and say, this guy's a drug user or he's an idiot or blah 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 because you don't know the guy and you don't know what he's been through.
Oh yeah, I know.
Did he have a drug problem before he became famous?
Well, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Right?
That he kicked. Like,
well,
I'm not talking about him specifically. I mean in general.
Right.
You got these people that they go from nothing to successful.
Right.
And then that's where it is. Like every walk of life, every industry is always going to create at least a couple of people.
For sure.
And they're the people that get the publicity.
Well, everyone
down.
likes to see a good plane crash from time to time.
Well, hands down, it's like, with wrestling, it's like you hear about all these guys that have died and stuff, like early, but why don't you fucking guys run stories on the guys that have made money and it became ultra fucking
they do, but then they make jokes out of it, like
right.
Fucking what is it? Hogan Knows Best.
Right.
Like that fucking show was awful. It was playing like the man has made billions of dollars. He's got a wife with tits that are more expensive than anything I own in my entire life.
Right.
He's got a daughter that is pretending to be a singer. That's kind of.
She's just a Kim Kardashian wannabe, just a B-rated Kim Kardashian, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you get the son who's got so much money that he doesn't care.
Well, his son got into some shit, didn't he?
No, I think so.
Yeah, he ended up killing somebody in a drunk driving accident, or like.
Anyway, I'm just saying, like even when they focus on the good, they make it a bad thing. So. Yeah. Anyway, I think we've definitely gone over time. So sorry to you guys watching.
Finally.
Hardy's
Dan
WWF debut in '98, and he jobbed for about 2 years until Terry Invitational Tournament.
Ah, that's right. Well, thank you very much for getting back to us on that.
Yeah, Dan was a hardcore wrestling fan in the day.
The Hardy brothers. I remember that. I actually remember the Hardy Brothers versus Edge and Christian when Edge and Christian were like they were doing the whole vampire.
Right, with
thing.
Gangrel, who's a good buddy of mine, David Heath. He's a good guy. I recommend anybody to book him for any wrestling shows. Speaking of wrestling shows, make sure you come check us out. NWA Ultimate Championship Wrestling, March 1st, Spryfield Lion Rings. Doors open at 6:30. $10 a ticket.
$10 a ticket.
Make sure you come check it out. It's going to be a good time.
And that's at Spryfield.
Yeah.
Where can they find you online?
They can find us online at nwaatlanticcanada.com. On Twitter at NWA_ACCW. You can get the links for Shane Stevens, Jackson Fury, JB Havoc.
Jackson Fury, follow him.
Yeah. You can get everything on
We'll
links.
we'll post a link to the website on our Facebook page.
Oh, thank you.
We'll post your. We've already posted a couple times your Twitter handle.
Yeah.
So they can
Thanks so
follow
much.
you guys. Other than that, do you guys have any? I know this is the next show you got going.
Yeah.
Do you guys have plans to do more?
We have a show that we're planning to do at the end of April. We just don't have a confirmed date yet. We'll be releasing that probably the 3rd, 4th of March. The championship crowning match, the winner of that will take on former WWE superstar Rene Dupree in April at that show. So just check out, see when it's at, and make sure you come out and check out Rene Dupree.
Who should we put our money on?
What, in the Dupree match or against myself and Jackson?
Yeah, this one.
Well, everybody seems to be rooting for Jackson, so I don't know.
Well,
I mean, obviously, I'm going to go for myself, right?
Well, clearly, is that a result of the size difference, or is that a result of the fact that heel, good guy?
Face.
No, I think everybody,
They just
thinks
know
he's
him to
cute.
kick his ass.
and they think he's cute, and the ladies love him, right? They don't want to see him get hurt. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we had the shirt open shot there in the video I saw. So we'll post a link to that video on our Facebook page.
And
Check out Jackson Fury's abs, everybody. They're great.
They are great, actually.
they are great. Says Jackson Fury.
You wash
himself.
the laundry on that motherfucker.
Too bad if I do say so myself. So thank you guys for listening. Find us on Twitter. It's on Halifax. Facebook.com/It's on Halifax. And our website, itsonhalifax.ca. As always, if you download this through iTunes, please remember to rate and comment. And have a good week. We'll see you guys next Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Quick shout out to Danny. I actually looked it up. Attaboy. Look.
Yeah.
Good work, buddy.
Yeah, he's all over that shit.
Yeah, if you come out to the show, man, for you, it's only going to be $15 a ticket.
That's how to make friends, right? All right, so thank you guys. I'll see you next week.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
This episode of It's on Halifax was brought to you by A2 Canada and Oasis on Spring Garden Road.
One more week until there's no more sleeping in. When the days are long, the nights are short, I'm tired of everything. The tension's building in my stomach, making knots. Catch the bus, I'm running late, I think I have forgot. 7 days off, sunny and bright, wishing that August will last a little longer. 7 days off, sunny and bright, wishing that you would stay with me forever. One more week until the end of everything, the start of something new, but I don't want to. 7 days off, sunny and bright, wishing that August will last a little longer. 7 days off, sunny and bright, wishing that you would stay with me forever. Forever. 7 days off, sunny and bright, wishing that August will last a little longer. 7 days off, sunny and bright, wishing that you would stay with me forever.